While the pandemic continues to make life a pain, particularly for game developers, 2021 was still an incredible year for video games, with standout hits like Deathloop and Forza Horizon 5 blowing gamers away. But with 2022 on the horizon, things are looking to get even better. With that being said, let's talk about the games I'm most excited about. This list includes my top 10 most anticipated games of 2022. Keep in mind that in order to be considered for this list, the games must have a release date in 2022, be that a firm date or release window. That means that my number one game, Final Fantasy XVI, will not be showing up here, sad face. Remember that this list is just my opinion, and feel free to discuss my picks and yours down in the comments. Now, let's get into it. Marvel's Midnight Suns is a tactical role-playing game developed by Firaxis, the devs behind the XCOM and Civilization franchises. While that may seem like a weird partnership for Marvel, this game looks like an absolute blast. Creating your own character called the Hunter, you team up with various Marvel superheroes to take down Hydra, who have awakened Lilith, the mother of all demons. It just so happens that she's also your mother, because that certainly won't make things more complicated. Featuring turn-based combat similar to the XCOM series, there's also a card-based structure to the game, allowing players to strategize builds based on the cards they are given to complete the mission. There's also an upgradable base called the Abbey where you can spend your time in between missions, strengthening your team and forging bonds between them. I'm a sucker for superhero games, and Firaxis doesn't play around, so I'm super excited for this one, pun unintended. Midnight Suns was supposed to release this March, but has since been delayed to the second half of 2022. You'll be able to play it on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 or 5, as well as the Xbox One or Series S and X. Gotham Knights is an action role-playing game developed by WB Montreal, who last made Batman Arkham Origins almost 9 years ago. Set in an alternate universe from the Arkham games, Bruce Wayne is seemingly dead, and it's up to the 4 playable characters, Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, and Red Hood, to take up the mantle of Gotham's protectors. Meanwhile, a menacing new group of criminals called the Court of Owls finally begins to show their face following the loss of the city's greatest protector. While the gameplay is similar to the Arkham games, WB Montreal have leaned even more into the modern RPG mechanics this go-around, with level scaling and other new features being added to the game. There's also an option for drop-in, drop-out co-op with another player, something I am personally very much excited about. As per usual, the game will feature plenty of Batman's rogue gallery to tussle with, as well as the entirety of Gotham City to explore. The game was originally intended to release this past year, but once again the delay hammer struck, moving the game to an unspecified release window of 2022. It'll be on PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, as well as both Xbox One and Series S and X. Let's hope we can finally get our hands on this one soon. Sifu is an action-adventure beat-em-up developed by Slowclap, the makers of the hit 2017 game Absolver. The game follows a kung fu student out for revenge after an assassin brutally murders his entire family. The catch? He has a magic talisman that revives him after death, but only after aging him a specific number of years each resurrection, and there's a limited number of uses before his death becomes permanent. With each resurrection, your player becomes stronger, but loses more and more health, making it an interesting give-and-take system. Set in China, there are numerous levels to test your skills and avenge your family, with plenty of replayability due to the nature of your resurrections. When this game was first announced back in February, I was immediately hooked. The fighting reminded me of the hallway fight scene from the first season of Daredevil. My fellow fans know exactly which scene I'm talking about. The previews of the game have also been immensely positive, so I cannot wait to get my hands on this. Sifu releases on February 8th for PC, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. Dying Light 2 Stay Human is an action role-playing survival horror game made by Techland, a sequel to their fantastic Dying Light in 2015. Set 20 years after the first game, you play Aiden Caldwell, a survivor equipped with, of course, various parkour skills to traverse the city and survive the apocalypse. The map this time around is 4 times larger than the last game, which certainly was not very small in its own right, and features 7 different regions, each run by its own faction of survivors who you can ally with or fight against. The decisions you make in the game will be constantly affecting your relationship with each faction, and can reward or hurt you based on the nature of your choices. There are plenty of added weaponry and tools at your disposal, and over 3,000 parkour animations this time around, allowing for fluid traversal of the map. The game also features the return of 4-player co-op, this time with crossplay, allowing you to play with your friends no matter the system, something I highly suggest you take advantage of. The original Dying Light is some of the most fun I have ever had in a co-op experience by far. I played it through in its entirety with my best friend, and we're insanely excited to finally jump into the sequel. The game lands February 4th on PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4 and 5, and the Xbox One and Series S and X. Horizon Forbidden West is an action role-playing game made by Guerrilla Games, a sequel to the well-received Horizon Zero Dawn in 2017. Once again playing as Aloy, the badass huntress in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by machines, she journeys out to the Forbidden West in order to find the source of a vicious plague that consumes anything it gets its hands on. Set in the distant future of the western United States, there are plenty of biomes to trek through, including valleys, deserts, mountains, beaches, and cities, and tons of new enemies to discover, both organic and mechanical. They've also added underwater exploration to this game, allowing Aloy to become even more versatile and providing an even better showcase for how beautiful the game can be. I mean, this game looks truly magnificent. Forbidden West has been on my most anticipated list for a while now, so it's no secret that it was going to make this list. Fingers crossed it sticks the landing on the current release date. The game is scheduled for February 18th on both PS4 and PS5. Pokemon Legends Arceus is an action role-playing game developed by Game Freak, the newest and easily most innovative core entry in the Pokemon franchise. A prequel to the Diamond and Pearl games, this entry follows your trainer in the Hisui region, also known as Sinnoh in present day. Set hundreds of years prior, your objective is to create Hisui's very first Pokédex, with either Rowlet, Cyndaquil, or Oshawott by your side. This is the first Pokemon game to feature starter Pokemon from different generations, as well as including wooden Pokeballs and other 19th century inspired equipment to take along on your journey. While the game won't be completely open world, it will most certainly be the closest we've seen the franchise get to one. The map will be split into Monster Hunter-esque open areas for you to explore and capture Pokemon. And while the primary combat of the game does still feature turn-based combat, there are a lot more nuanced systems at play here, allowing Pokemon to sometimes take multiple turns depending on the situation, as well as even fighting in the open world itself. Legends Arceus is most definitely the most ambitious Pokemon title ever made, and I cannot wait to uncover all the secrets it has to offer. Launching on January 28th from the Nintendo Switch, this game isn't that far away, so get hyped. Starfield is an action role-playing game developed by Bethesda. Do I even need to explain who they are? Bethesda's first new IP in over 25 years, Starfield's hype is pretty much unmatched. The only reason it isn't higher on this list is because, to be honest, we really don't know too much about the game still. You play as a character in the Constellation, a group of space explorers 20 years after the Colony War, a bloody war between the two largest factions in the game, the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective. Other than that, in the setting of the 26th century, we basically know nothing else. However, Bethesda really doesn't miss on single-player RPGs, and yes, I specify single-player because who can forget Fallout 76, so it's pretty safe to say that the game will at least be a great one, if not a masterpiece. Starfield is currently set to release on November 11th for PC and Xbox Series S and X. Elden Ring is an action role-playing game developed by From Software, another developer that needs no introduction. In the realm of the Land Between, you play as an exile called the Tarnished in a quest to find all the great runes, restore the Elden Ring, and become the Elden Lord. From Software continues to innovate in the Souls genre, first with Demon Souls, then Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and now Elden Ring. The game features From Software's biggest and most open world yet, including 6 main areas, dungeons, castles, catacombs, and more. You can also travel by horseback, use stealth, summon allied spirits in combat, and plenty more. Leaning even more into the traditional RPG genre, but maintaining the core Souls experience, Elden Ring honestly looks like the best Souls game yet, and I am foaming at the mouth waiting for its release. That day is February 25th, and it's coming to PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, and Xbox One and Series S and X. God of War Ragnarok is an action-adventure hack-and-slash game developed by Santa Monica Studio, a follow-up to their 2018 soft reboot God of War. 3 years after the previous game, Kratos and a teenage Atreus set out to learn more about Atreus' destiny and how to stop the coming Ragnarok. Out to stop them, however, are plenty of Norse foes, including the God of Thunder himself. Information on the game is still fairly sparse, but the gameplay trailers shown at the PlayStation Showcase featured plenty of fantastic set pieces and gameplay that fans of the series have come to know and love, and to be honest, there really isn't much to worry about here. It's in good hands. The game has a vague window of sometime in 2022, and will release on both PS4 and PS5. Now, before I get to the number 1 pick, let's look at some honorable mentions that I just couldn't leave out. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Like I said, I'm a sucker for superhero games. Redfall. Arcane is one of the most talented developers in the industry, so I'm sure this one will be another knock out of the ballpark. Splatoon 3. Because Splatoon is awesome, and everything we've seen thus far looks even better. The untitled Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel is an action-adventure game developed by Nintendo EPD, and it's no shocker that I'm extremely excited for this game. Breath of the Wild is one of the greatest games ever made, and I will forever remember the exact moment the sequel was announced. I was standing in my hotel room in Los Angeles for E3 2019, watching the Nintendo presentation on my phone because the hotel didn't have free Wi-Fi. As soon as the trailer started, I immediately began to scream, much to my girlfriend at the time's annoyance. I called my best friend as soon as possible, and we could not contain our excitement, already talking about theories for the story, gameplay, etc. We still don't know much about the sequel, even so much as its name, but we do know that there will be an emphasis on verticality and sky terrain. Very few Zelda games, if any, have missed the mark, and I expect no less from this installment. As of now, there is no release date beyond a 2022 window, and the game will be exclusive to Nintendo Switch. So, there you have it, my most anticipated games of 2022. Do you agree? Do you have other games you're more excited about? Feel free to talk in the comments. Of course, I'm excited for more games than this in the year, but these are just my favorites. But yeah, let's have a discussion. So like this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time for whatever it is I'm doing next in 2022.